Welcome to our Champion Line instructional video for assembly. The first thing I want to say is thank you very much for trusting Vero for your 3DUF motion solution. And without further ado, let's just jump right into it. What you will receive at home is going to be either 2 or 3 boxes. The Champion GTR is most likely 2 actuators per box. In this case, with the Champion or Champion GT, it's going to be 4 actuators in one box and then everything else that you need into the other. So let's go right into it and show you what's inside. So box number 1, the 4 actuators. It's important to note that each actuator is going to have different lengths. The 2 longer ones are going to go for your rear actuators, and then the 2 shorter cable lengths are going to be used for the front actuator. I'm just going to move these aside for now. All right, now for the rest of it. Hardware bag. Brackets. Essentially, all 4 brackets are going to be the same. Next up, this is going to be used if you're using something like an ASR Pro, anything that has a flat face profile without any slots in your extrusion. These 4 brackets are going to be used to go underneath. So this would go through both brackets into the actuator, and then this would go underneath your profile. So you should have 4 of those. And keeping in the theme that if you do a flat face profile, so you'll have the bracket underneath, and then you'll have this with some adjustments, which will go to here. There are some fixed nuts in it, but you might not have this in slots through, and then just 2 manual nuts that you're going to put through to hold that into there. This cable here will be used for your e-stop. This is going to go in one end, and then the other end of this is going to go into your controller. Power for the controller. USB A to B for your controller. So these brackets here will be used to go underneath the controller and to mount this under your extrusion profile for your cockpit. You can either go underneath the pedal plate or underneath the seat. You can pick. Do keep in mind that you'll need something that's a 160 profile so that you can have enough height to clear it. If not, recommend just leaving the controller outside of the simulator, maybe to the front, to the side, or maybe even above. So this is optional. So here is your controller. You're going to need to do power. There's a USB-B is going to go here, and then to USB-A for the computer, and then your emergency stop is here. Essentially, each actuator will have a power connection and a data connection. It's important to understand, so this is what we call ID1, ID2, ID3, and ID4. There is a sequence that's written right above, but this is always rear left, front right, and rear right. And you'll be attributing that to SimHub as well once we're going to be getting into the software end of everything. This is going to be used if ever eventually you add the 6UF platform. This will provide power to the platform, and then you would link the platform via the CAN bus as well for data. So this is essentially what the controller looks like. All right, so the first step is to mount your brackets to your cockpit. I would recommend putting something underneath. In this case, we've got a dolly, just to kind of lift it off the ground and give you a little bit of room to work with. So two options. Option one is you can go directly through the slots into the track outside your cockpit. In this case, we've got an upper and lower, which is fine. We just need two tracks in order to bolt this on securely. If you have a flat surface and you cannot do that, then you will need, first off, this bracket here. So we can see that one side is adjustable in height and then the other is not. So the one that is not adjustable will go directly into the top of your track. And then underneath, we would be using this bracket. So how would that look? You'll need the round head bolts to go into this bracket both ways. So that way and also that way. So essentially T-nut into the top track, bolt, lock washer, regular washer. So what you would do is bolt through the actuator and then nut on that side. For this bracket, you would go T-nut underneath the bottom track, regular M8 bolt, lock washer, washer. So lock washer, washer first, into the bracket, into the T-nut. After that, at a later point, once we put the actuator in, so this would be sticking out here, this will sit through here, and then we would set a bolt, this one right here, underneath both brackets, and then into your actuator. So that is essentially what you would need, all of this, if you're mount to a flat face, but because we're not doing flat face, we can just throw those ones out, and all we need is this here. So in order to put your T-nuts in, I recommend grabbing something that is small. So you grab your T-nuts, grab your tool, and pop it into the track. So you're going to grab the round head bolt, number 5. And then repeat that for the next 4 T-nuts. All right, so I'm just gonna align the bracket square to the profile to the back. Once it's there, I can go ahead and tighten all of these down. Good, that's one done. So next step is going to be to mount the actuator into the bracket. Now, as I mentioned earlier when I did the unboxing, is you want to be careful that you grab the right one. So here is your rear actuator versus a front. As you can see, this one is a lot longer. So, I mean, unless you want to put your control box in the back, and then you would put the longer cables in the front, but yeah, and then before you do this, very important, and I've done this too many times, bolt the actuator without doing this step first. So at the bottom of the bracket, you've got a little hole down here. So run your cables through. Pull all that slack right out. Okay, so now that this is here, it's gonna be an M6 bolt. So you're gonna do lock washer and a regular washer. So lock washer, regular washer. Threaded by hands. Honestly, just to start, a couple of threads. Same thing for all of the other bolts. So it's 4 in total, 2 per side. So you want to leave this loose to help you align everything at the bottom. Now for the bottom, slide your actuator down. This will be a smaller bolt, should be about an M5. So same thing, lock washer and washer. There's 3 of them down here. Sometimes just to find the hole, is just give it a light turn and try and just move the actuator until you can find that perfect alignment. So now I'm going to grab a number 4. Okay, I can push that back up. Then you can grab the cup, remove the protective film, put that in, and there's one actuator done. Time to move to the front. So now that we've done the rear actuator, we actually want to move over to the front ones. In terms of mounting the bracket to the actuator, it's going to be exactly the same steps of what we've done in the back, but you have a decision to make. You can mount your actuator bracket all the way to the front. Might look a little cleaner, but the further apart your front and rear actuators are, the less degrees of pitch you are going to have available. The optimal for a 3-DOF would be to move them as close as you can just past your uprights. Therefore, by your actuators from the front and the rear being closer, are going to have the maximum amount of pitch. My other suggestion, which is your third option, is to mount them at 37 3/4 inch center to center. And the reason for that is because if eventually you move over to the Legend system like we have in the back and you decide to add the platform, that is the distance that is set for the space between the rear actuator and the front actuator. So if you eventually want to go over to the Legend and you don't feel like having to move your actuator brackets again, then 37 3/4 inches is what you're looking for, center to center. So just going to go on and repeat the same steps to mount my second actuator. So for this next part, this is completely optional. If you just want to leave the controller off the simulator, just put it to the front, run your cables to it, which we'll show that part soon. But we're going to go the fancy way. We're going to actually mount this controller underneath this chassis. Obviously you can try to work from it from underneath. If you have anything to lift it up, then you can leave it flat. I just chose to show you guys a way that most of you will be able to do this from home. So obviously I had a friend, which is my cameraman, help me put this on its side. We've got a moving blanket on the ground so we don't scratch anything. And then we're going to mount these brackets. So if you look, there's 3 slots here. That will line up with these 3 holes here. And then you're going to grab these really tiny bolts. Same as usual, we're going to do a lock washer and a regular washer. Like so. You're just going to want to leave these loose for now. And you'll see why in a minute. So I'm going to go ahead and put the rest in. I've already gone and put my T-nuts underneath, but essentially you're going to want to put T-nuts 2 on each side of the track. I can remove this from the picture. And then you're also going to want to do 1 lock washer and washer per. Okay, for the fun part. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and tighten these down. Now that I have this tightened, what I want to try and do is I want to try and center this controller a little bit more. And I'm just going to go base visually by the space here. And done. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to connect all the actuators to the controllers. Don't worry too much about cable management at this point. I'll show you a trick once we can actually get working and connected where we can lift the simulator up on the actuators, which will give us the room that we need to go underneath and then do our cable management. So if you remember from the unboxing, we're going to go with ID1 through ID4. So it goes rear left, front right, and then rear right. So what I'm going to do for now is I'm just going to grab my ID1 cables. I am going to send those through, and then starting from the left, I have power first, which is the 4-pin. Press that in, make sure you hear that click. All right, so now I'm going to ID2, which is my front left. I'm going to run that under. Into ID2, I'm going to start lower with the power. ID3, going to move over to this side. And then finally, ID4. There you go. Now that that's done, we are going to put this back with the simulator and then add the USB emergency stop. And then we'll show you what we do to get this activated onto SimHub. We have our simulator back in place. One thing to keep in mind when you're putting your sim by your monitors is that once the system's gonna go on, you're gonna be going up by half of the travel from the kit you have. So if you have a Champion, you have to figure an extra 1.5 inches plus clearance. Champion GT, you want 2 inches higher and then figure out your clearance. And then the Champion GTR, then it's gonna be 3 more inches. We've already have this preset. We had this motion system on before. We just took it off and putting it back on for the purpose of this video. So I'm going to go ahead and put the e-stop. I've already got some bolts on the side here that I'm going to be using for my e-stop. So essentially I'm going to leave that here. I'm just going to twist it underneath. And then on the front of the controller, right here, oh no! We lost the microphone, so emergency stop right there. Okay, so e-stop is now done. I'm gonna bolt that up in 1 second. Next up is gonna be my USB, so I'm gonna take the USB-B. Plug that in the front. In my case, I've got a powered USB hub underneath my pedal, so I'm just gonna send this underneath. So that's done. And then the last bit's gonna be power. So same as the USB-B, I like to centralize everything. So what I've done is I've also put a power bar underneath my pedal tray. So I'm just gonna run this power cord into that power bar. So what I can do now is I can just power it on. You'll see 4 green lights. As long as you have 4 green lights and no red lights flashing, then you're good to go. I can hear the fans going on as well, so everything seems to be working as planned. Let's move on to the next step. All right guys, so earlier I promised you a trick to deal with all the cable management underneath the sim. So follow me this way. Once you got your motion system enabled within SimHub, so we can see that it's active, I will go over to here, manual control, and then I will grab the heave and go all the way up. So now that I've got the sim all the way up, I've got all of the space that I need in order to put some cable clip management underneath there, which some are included with your kit. and then just tie everything down so that everything is nice and hidden and then out of the way. So now that that's done, time to show you how to load a profile and get racing. So now what you're gonna wanna do is open SimHub, make sure you've got the latest version installed. Then you're gonna go to add and remove features, ensure that motion is enabled. Then go to settings and add license. This is where you're gonna upload the 2 licenses that we would have shared with you. So here are both of them. One is just a SimHub license. One is the motion add-on. Once you've done that, you can then go to motion, platform config. You're going to add a controller, add the PT actuator CAN controller. While you're doing that, you're going to want to ensure that you select the USB serial port FTDI. It should be active and not have any red circles beside it. Then you're going to go to edit access assignment. This is where it should connect to your controller. All right, so once you are here, what you want to do is you want to make sure that you have, again, ID1 is your rear left, ID2 is your front left, ID3 is your front right, and then ID4 is your rear right. You're going to click on test all platform access, and this is the point where you should go up. So what you want to do here is you want to test all of your assignments. I'm going to go down on the rear. Yep, that worked. Down on the front left, yep, that worked. Down on the front right, that worked. And then down on the rear right. Excellent, so everything is working. Now I can exit this. You'll want to go to also make sure that your rig is set up, and this should prompt you initially. I already had it set up, so this is why it's not. But in the initial prompt, you'll have this window here, where you will see 3 DOF, 4 corners. This is a 3 DOF, not a 6 DOF, so I do not have surge, I do not have a sway axis or a traction loss axis, nor do I have a belt tensioner onto this system. So it's just a 3 DOF, 4 corners. I will click OK. The next prompt will be this. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that you have a measuring tape, and it's asking you, if you look at here, L1, which is the measurement from your front actuator onto your rear actuator. So in my case, I have got about 38.5 inches. It's asking millimeters, not the end of the world. Millimeter to inches, 37.75, so 960. Next, I want to take the width of my actuators. I have 27.25 inches, so 27.25, 692, and then the stroke limit. So again, because I am on the Champion GT, it is 100 millimeters of stroke, so that's fine. You have further settings if you keep going down the list. You can go through all of this, essentially as long as you've done the first part. Then there's the height. So the height, what you want to do is you want to measure from the bottom of the ground onto where essentially your butt meets your seat, and then that's the measurement you're going to put in here. And then the longitude is essentially the distance from the front actuator to, again, kind of where your butt or your back meets the seat. So I've already gone and put this measurement in, but you've got the diagrams here. Very simple to follow. This essentially will determine where the center axis is, and the other thing that's pretty cool with this is it will tell you how much pitch you have available and then how much roll you have available. The other important number here is going to be your speed limiter. So our actuators, you want a speed limit at 250 millimeters per second. You're not going to run out of speed, I think, on any of the tuning effects. At least we do not on any of our profiles. Once you've done this, then hit OK, OK, and then this portion is done. I'm going to want to go to Discord now, which you guys will have to do. If you want to start off with a profile, I mean, you're more than welcome to start off with whatever profiles you guys want, and feel free to share them within the community. I'm going to go to hardware profiles, remove this, 3 DOF. It is right here. We can see a profile and the name, so I would download that. It's downloaded. We'd go back to SimHub under Profile Manager, and then Import profile, it's here. I would simply import it, open. I already have loaded it up here, so here it is. Load, and then we're done. May as well go through these options with you. So pitch and roll essentially has to do with elevation change on the track. Roll is camber changes on the track, so it's all the physical way that the car will rotate based on the track surface. Surge to pitch has to do with your braking and accelerating. So your longitude g-force, and then your lateral g-force is your sway to roll. Heave is simply the motion of the car up and down over the track surface, bumps, curbs, and all of that fun stuff. Then we have the aptics. So you can choose to have certain effects. As you see, we have some that we prefer to leave off. The more important ones are going to be your rumble strips, your engine vibrations, and then your gear changes. The main things within the main platform that you want to play with is going to be your smoothing, and then your input limit and your motion range. If you tend to stick to those three things, you will be able to tune things very finely and very easily. Obviously, there's a lot more options here that you can dive into, but I would recommend just starting with those three things. And what you can do as well, this is pretty cool, you can actually target. So when you hit target, it turns off all of the other features so that you can really just focus on that one feature alone. Again, turn that back off and then everything comes back on. So we'll probably do a video later on more in-depth things that you can do with SimHub, but this is the essentially only thing you need to focus on in order to get your system going. Once you've done this, just enable motion, start your game, and you are ready to go. All right, guys, well, enjoy your new 3DOF system, and once you've tailored your perfect profile, don't be a stranger to share it with the community. All right, guys, see you on the virtual tracks.